Hello and welcome to our Spotlight video explanation. In this video, I will show you a few examples. You can kind of get an idea visually of what we're talking about here when I say you're going to make a poster. And then we'll talk about how this is done in stages. I'll show you the rubric for the poster, and then I will show you how to figure out or how to access the Spotlight assignment packet. All right, so just a brief snapshot of a few great examples from previous students. Here you can see this poster was done on Angela Davis, a wonderful philosopher, current day. And so this kind of gives you an idea into her background, the work that she's done, the influence that she's had, like what population her work has been meaningful to. And then a bibliography over here. You see the same thing here with Dr. Manulani Meyer. We'll actually be reading one of her articles this term. So here's a snapshot about her and her work. Jesse Prince is a great philosopher. He does a lot of work in moral cognition. So in my doctoral research, I was really interested in his work. So it was fun that a student wanted to do their poster on him as well. And here's one on Judith Butler. Judith Butler is a really well-known philosopher, current day philosopher, so you may have heard of Judith Butler as well. All right, so that's just kind of, I don't want to settle on any of those because I don't want you like furiously writing down how to exactly model all of those. I want you to kind of take your own approach to this poster project. So I don't want to show those posters for too long because I don't want you to think that there's just one way to do this. Like there can be lots of ways to do it, and we have a rubric that kind of just makes sure that you're keeping the most important parts front and center. All right, so we are completing this in stages. Now, in our short term together, 4 weeks, we don't have that long to like develop this in different stages. So we're just doing a couple different things. So like in a regular semester, we would also have a draft and peer review process, but we don't have time for that, unfortunately, in our 4-week term. But we are still taking the heart of that sort of staged process. We're going to begin with a worksheet. So in week 1, this is where I'm going to ask you to choose your philosopher. The reason that I ask you to do this is that I want to know first and foremost, like who you're planning to do this poster on, so that if it's someone that doesn't work for this project, then we can nip that in the bud and we can make sure that you get on track with a philosopher that will work for this. The main issues that I've seen, there's 2 main reasons why this sometimes goes off track for students in the beginning. One is that they're not choosing a current day philosopher. I'll get people asking to do their projects on Nietzsche or on Aristotle. These are not current day philosophers. We want someone who has been alive in the past, like at least 20 years. Someone who's currently either alive now or has only recently passed in the past 20 years or something like that. We want someone whose work is like currently influencing this academic discipline. And speaking of the academic discipline, I do want this to be somebody who is related to the academic discipline of philosophy, like with a big P, philosophy. Sometimes in pop culture and society, we might refer to people as philosophers with like a lowercase p, right? Meaning that their work is meaningful to people and it makes people think about big questions. And that's awesome. Like I'm not trying to put those folks down at all. What I'm trying to say though is that in this course, we're looking specifically at the academic discipline of philosophy. So we want, just like if you were to research a sociologist or a biologist or someone like that, like we want somebody that's attached and contributing to the academic world of philosophy. So I have lots of suggestions of how to find people in our assignment packet, which I'll show you in just a moment, and in the assignments themselves in Canvas. You'll see links to 2 different sites. I have one site that I came up with myself, just of some philosophers that came to mind that are doing really cool things. And then another site that one of my students a couple years ago pointed me in the direction of. Great site. I had no idea the site existed, and it's got like all these interviews with philosophers. It's called like, what is it like to be a philosopher? So there's tons of of suggestions there as well. Not total overlap, so that's why I still show you my own site, but you can definitely find someone between those couple sites that is doing work that you might find interesting. If you have someone in mind and you're not sure whether they would be a good fit for this project, just let me know. I'm happy to chat with you about that. All right, so if you change your mind about your philosopher, then that's fine. Like, let's say it's week 2 and you're like, oh, this isn't really panning out, or there's this other person who's more interesting to me. That's fine, but I'm going to ask you to resubmit your worksheet. So I want your worksheet, and you won't get a late penalty for that as long as you submitted it on time the first time around. I want your worksheet to match up with the philosopher that you end up doing the poster on. All right, so then the poster itself. To be clear, it's virtual. I do not want you to be printing anything out. All right, so this is just virtual poster. There's a rubric for it, and we'll look at that next. But first, just to point out the final stage in this is that in week 4, we are going to have everybody share their posters. I don't want to be the only one that sees these beautiful posters. These posters, like every semester, every intersession or summer term, I'm just blown away by these. Like, you guys are so creative. So it doesn't have to be visually stunning. That's fine. Like, you know, the examples I showed, students really like have some artistic abilities and stuff. I do not. So I'm not gonna, that you'll see that's not on the rubric. It's not like visually stunning 10 points or anything like that. But I do really appreciate the sort of effort and work that a lot of students put into this. So I don't want to be the only one to see this. I want you to be able to see what everyone else has been working on. So we're going to share those. And importantly, in that discussion, I'll also ask you to share a question that you would ask that philosopher if you had the chance to like interview them or something. And I think that at that point, you'll be familiar with the philosopher's work enough that you can kind of think about what might be interesting to them, and you can think about how they might answer your question. You don't have to be right. It's just kind of you showing that you have taken the time to think about what this person cares about and what they write about. Here is our rubric. What you'll see is that those are the 3 categories: the background, the impact, the work that this philosopher has done. And then at the bottom there, I have the formatting. All right, so in the background, I want you to tell us a little bit about the philosopher, maybe like where they got their graduate degree from, like what area of the world they do their work in, something like that. Importantly, you do not need to include a whole bunch of personal details here. You do not need to, for example, request these philosophers on Facebook or anything like that. I have had students try to do that in the past. Just whatever is publicly available. A lot of philosophers have websites. I mean, all of these philosophers that you come across should have an academic website. Maybe sometimes they'll share some personal information on their academic website. So if there's something on there that you find interesting, that's great. But you don't need to do a deep dive or start digging around in their personal life. I'm just asking for some background so that we know kind of like what area they're coming from, or like what their life might have been like that has led them to become a philosopher. The impact that they've had, like what sort of influence that they have in a different community, in different communities, like who is their work important for. And then I want to know a little bit about their work as well. So I want to hear about at least 2 works of theirs. These could be books, they could be articles, they could be talks, like maybe you find a YouTube video about them or something like that. Importantly, you don't need to become an expert on this person. I'm just asking you to give us a sense of what their works are about. Even if it's like really complicated stuff, just do your best to find some sort of summary. You don't need to read everything that they've written. You don't need to do a deep dive on this stuff. I just want you to kind of read some summaries of their work, or maybe listen to a talk that they've given on YouTube, something like that. And I want you to write a couple sentences about each one. So importantly, I want you to have a references list. I want you to include at least 2 sources of where you got your information. If that's their academic website, if that's an article about them, something like that. If it's the interview from the website, what is it like to be a philosopher, something like that. I want you to be citing the sources, how you learned about this person. I also want you to include at least 250 words of text throughout this, not including the references list. All right, so I want you to, write a short summary about their background impact work right in each of those sections. All right, next up, we have this big picture description of the project. So in this short video, I've tried to just kind of give you a brief summary of what to expect here. If you want to know the details, they are available for you in this Spotlight assignment packet. All right, so this has it's just a couple pages, but it'll give you the rubrics and the, all the details of, and the links and things like that. Here you see we have a little timeline. Week 1 is we're doing the worksheet. Week 3 we have the poster, and week 4 is the presentation. All right, and you can find this on Canvas. Just go to Files, Course Documents. I'll also have links on the assignments too to bring you there as well. Finally, just have fun. This project is intended to be a fun way to learn about the academic discipline of philosophy. A lot of the other work that we're doing is going to be a little bit more dry because it's analyzing and things like that. So this Spotlight project is meant to be something a little bit more lighthearted and interesting to connect with in a day-to-day sort of personal way of seeing what the area or discipline of philosophy is all about. All right, thanks everyone. Can't wait to see your posters.